Hey folks, shit, I forgot to turn off the TV. 2 seconds. Right, I'm back. In today's video, hopefully we'll continue on with the evolution trail. I'll be happy if he's finally got to the point. Let's carry on.
By the lands, and it's the same throughout the whole of this evolutionary thing. If you've got a weird animal that's growing lumps on its back on the way to making wings, that animal's going to be picked off. So this is what Charles Darwin has to say. Old forms have been supplanted by new and improved forms of life. That's what he says. They're not improved forms of life with lumps on their back. They haven't learned to fly yet, and they'll be picked off by all the natural predators. There we go.
What about...
Seriously? You think that if the zebras evolved lumps on their back in a transitional form on their way to wings, they would be the easiest prey? Dick. They would not be affected badly by these lumps, as they wouldn't affect the legs of the animals. Do you know, the bit zebras run with? Their backs are not used to run, so fuck your analogy.
transitional life forms in the fossil records?
Well, do you know, this is really interesting because they keep talking about transitional forms every now and again in the Daily Mail and what have you. They keep saying they found a transitional form. I've never ever seen something that I'm convinced is a transitional life form in the fossil record. Now, when you think about it, they say evolution happens very slowly. So actually, there should be transitional forms virtually everywhere, because everything should be changing to everything else. Is that right? But we just don't see that in the fossil record. There is no evidence that I'm convinced of about animals in the fossil records changing from one animal to another.
You see, transitional forms are all the time, Dick. Every species is a transitional form. Over the centuries, humans have gotten taller in Europe through evolution. But anyway, I'm going to show you a few transitional forms in the fossil record now. Enjoy the show!
Just in your home, you don't see your pet dog changing into a monkey or a cat or a bird or a duck or anything.
No, Dick, you won't. However, evolution doesn't happen instantaneously. And once again, it's a special change, not an individual one. You little arrogant prick.
But it should be happening all the time. In fact, most animals should be changing into other animals if evolution was true, but it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. No, the Bible says that each kind or each type or each species is made according to its own kind.
Sure.
Oh yeah, the old kind thing again. Define kind for me please, Dick, as it certainly isn't a scientific term. Special changes have been observed in scientifically controlled experiments using fruit fly and bacteria. Perhaps I should define what species is for you. One of the terms is that a species is a major subdivision of a genus or a subgenus, regarded as a basic category of biological classification, composed of related individuals that resemble one another, are able to breed among themselves, but are not able to breed with the members of another species. There you go. Nice, isn't it?
So dogs, for example, they can breed with other dogs, and you can get long-haired dogs and short-haired dogs and all the rest of it.
Sure.
But they won't change into ducks.
Dogs cannot breed with ducks, you dickhead. They won't turn into ducks magically either. Dogs are mammals. Ducks are birds. Evolution takes time. Fuck you, creationists, and your duck hybrids. First it was the crocoduck, and now the magical dog duck. Who fucking rah?
Yes.
Interesting. But then, you know, they have a lot of theories. They have another thing they call gene mutation.
Gene mutation. Yeah, they do. Well, look, listen, I'm a medical doctor, and unfortunately I've seen an awful lot of gene mutation. Gene mutation is a change in the DNA. That's the computer code that makes all our cells, you know, our brain cells, our heart cells, our lung cells, all the other cells, kidney cells. They're all designed, well, the design is imprinted on the DNA. That's the code is on the DNA. Now, if there's only, as a medical doctor, we're actually familiar with a change of the DNA, and it's caused by radiation. For example, if you're exposed to a nuclear explosion, or chemicals, or diseases. And the only type of gene modification we've ever seen causes something really nasty, like cancer, anencephaly, that means children born without heads, Down syndrome, and spina bifida. There is no known case of modification of DNA that's caused anything better. It's always worse. So in other words, this theory of gene mutation is, in my opinion, complete rubbish.
Wow.
It's absolute rubbish. I'll be categorical about it, because over 30 years of general practice, I never saw gene mutation that caused something good. It always caused something really, really nasty.
You might want to retract that statement, Dick. Let's see what I'll handle first. Number 1. Let's start with your assertion that gene modification is what scientists claim is a cause of evolution. Gene modification is a man-made scientific technique. Gene mutation, which is what scientists state is a factor in evolution, is usually bad, but there are rare occasions where there are good mutations. These good mutations have a better chance to reproduce, thus creating more of the species with mutated genes, who will go on to breed, and eventually the old gene pool is wiped out through being unable to compete with the new gene pool, with a beneficial genetic mutation. A good example of this is the adaptation to high and low temperature of E. coli. Second, you claim there has never been any good genetic modifications. Well, as stated, genetic modification is a scientific technique. We have now got crops that are better able to withstand disease and grow in worse conditions and faster than normal crops. If it wasn't for idiots like you spreading lies about GM crops, then hunger would be a thing of the past, as GM crops would easily feed the world. However, no doubt you want a medical example, so how about, for example, the drugs to combat cancer that were researched and created in the UK last year from genetically modified chicken eggs. That sounds like a good example, like a good beneficial genetic modification to me. Fuckwit.
There we go.
Wow. Now, you know, you talked about how complicated the human eye is. You know, could you give us some more information about that particular
Well, the
area?
human...
Oh yeah, here comes that hour-long fucking talk about the eye. Yet another argument that creationists use of his own.
We just used very briefly the eye as an example, but this would apply anywhere in the body. I mean, for example, Yemi has two lovely eyes, got ears, and you've got teeth, which are specialized. You've got hearts and lungs and kidneys and liver, spleen and muscles and tendons and joints and bones and all sorts, and everything is specialized. And everything is designed according to the way God planned it, but it's all examples of what we call irreducible complexity. In other words, it's got to function properly first time, but we'll just use the eye as an example. Now, what the eye actually does, if you look at the pictures, is light comes from the sun, And actually what light is photons moving in a waveform. And that light, those photons go through the eye, and those photons go through the transparent skin, which is called the cornea, and then it goes through a lens, which changes the direction or accommodates the rays, onto the back of the eye, the retina. And when they get to the retina, there are specialized nerve endings called rods and cones that convert the light into electrical impulses. It's actually very complicated. I won't go into all the details, but the whole point is that this is a very, very sophisticated machine, and we've got two of them. It's really complicated. It's under pressure. The whole eye is under pressure. That's why it maintains its spherical shape. And it's got blood vessels going to and from. It's got arteries and veins and everything else. And there are two of them working in tandem, and they work in a very, very sophisticated way, adjusting for light and accommodation millions of times every second. And Charles Darwin, just think about this just for a second, Charles Darwin actually admitted that the evolution of the eye was a real problem.
Now I'm going to take this unusual step of debunking this by webcam. Darwin did not state that it was impossible. What he said is that it seems ridiculous, not that it is ridiculous. There is a slight difference in stating something and just guessing. With that in mind, I'm going to put an annotation here that links you to Brett P. Palmer's video about irreducibly complex things, because I can't do it because I've run out of time for my upload limit. See ya folks, I'll get round to the eye next time.